Hey there, I hope you're enjoying your summer. I have a hot summer deal for you. I am offering a bonus 4th session with any of our 3 session packages over on spiritcenteredbusiness.com. That includes live busting and activations and business coaching. So if you'd like to take advantage, break off those limits, move you forward in your destiny, and you'd like my help, go over to spiritcenteredbusiness.com and grab any of the 3 session packages today. I will automatically bonus you the 4th. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Spirit-Centered Business Podcast, where we blend the spiritual with the practical for supernatural results. Now, here is your host, Bralynn Newby.
Well, hello there. Welcome to Spirit-Centered Business. I'm your host, Bralynn Newby, and I'm here with Hyda Maria Dougherty, who I just met. I'm sorry about that last name. I know I this is the second time I did it. I'm sorry, but I want to say Daugherty, and I don't know why. Dougherty. Anyway, I met Hyda Maria in Colorado at the No Limits Ranch, and we went on 2 hikes together. We just had some great bonding time, and I said, you know what? I love your heart. And I love the way that you blend your spirituality into your business and into your life. And so I think that my people need to see that, because one of the reasons that I started Spirit-Centered Business back in 2014 was because people were separating their business and their spirituality. And one of the things that I think that God has called us to do is to be blended and just be who He created us to be in everything. And if He created us, like you and I are both water babies. We love water. You say that you're a water carrier and you love to go with the flow. I love that. And I'm really attracted to water as well. So we just naturally kind of do some things that how we're designed. And I just wanted to introduce you to the peeps. Share your heart, share your story, and share what you're doing. So welcome to the show, Hyda.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate having met you there at Unlimited Ranch.
Yeah, No Limits, yeah.
And so it was a pleasure, and it is a pleasure to continue to get to know you and deepen our friendship and connection in this way. So really, thank you so much for just having me here today.
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah. You know, the first day that we met, I was just musing about finding this beautiful vista, this view that the owner of the ranch, Evelyn, said. And I said, I'm going to just go hike. And I said, I'm going to go tonight. And you said, I'll go with you. And that was awesome. I'm like, yes, a fellow explorer, adventurer. I always want to find the edge and see if I can find a view. I learned that from my dad. And always, I love nature and hiking through the forest and all of that stuff. And you braved it. Even if you had capris on and we had to go through some scrub brush, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry it's scratching your legs. I'm going to keep going. But we found our way there, we found our way back, and it was really good. So in that, though, I really want you to tell people, share your story. How did you get into doing the education and the writing and the things that you do? Just kind of share with the peeps.
So I have a very interesting beginning, and I firmly believe that God, Creator, had a hand in it for sure. So I was adopted at age 4 years old, and my mom, who adopted me, is Irish. She passed on a number of years ago. Oh, I apologize. I think, is that my phone? I'm so sorry. I thought I had turned my phone.
No worries. We didn't even hear it, so it's all good.
Good. Okay. So I just wanted to say that how that came about was there was a woman who was working with my mom. My mom was a director of Garcia Street Club. Her name is Laura Dougherty. And she was visiting a mutual friend in the hospital and said, I have been taking care of this little girl and I'm elderly and just really not able to continue to do so. and wondered if her friend knew of anybody who they could recommend to find a home for me, basically. So she said, yes, I know Mrs. Dougherty, Laura Dougherty. She's director at Garcia Street Club, and her whole life is about children. And so my father called her and said, sure, bring her by, and, well, let's talk and see what we can help you, see what we can figure out. So my mom met me, had my little suitcase with me. I remember even I was wearing a pink polka dotted dress.
Oh, wow.
Dress, just like that. And so my mom and dad spoke, and I didn't really at that age understand so much what was going on or happening, but she basically told my dad that, well, in her Irish way, what's one more potato in the pot?
That's funny.
Yeah. So that my journey began there, and it was an unusual upbringing because we actually lived right at the community center. And my mom started the early childhood program there, which was comprised of children from all different backgrounds. My first language was Spanish, and many of the children that she started the program there with were also Spanish-speaking children. And many of them were having a very difficult time transitioning into the regular school system because they didn't understand English. And so she started her program with a few kids, and this is not an exaggeration, but she had a God-given gift that she eventually expanded to her kindergarten program, had as many as 75 children at one time, which I know it sounds unbelievable, but that's the gift of faith.
Wow.
And the gift of love.
Wow, a gift of multiplication, for crying out loud. That's a lot of Wow. So she was Irish and she became your adopted mom, but your bloodline is what?
Well, Native American on my mom's side and Spanish from my dad's side.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty pure bloodline in that respect. So, and it comes down to being about half and half.
Wow.
So, my biological side of family.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so then what happened? I obviously you got a gift of, being with the kids and teaching and that kind of stuff from your adopted mom.
Well, yeah, that's where the whole world of music and storytelling and dance and art was really, because it was an art center there as well. We had a painting room and a weaving and pottery and arts and crafts. And my mom, I don't even know how people found her, through the grace of God, I'm sure, but they would find her and they would want to come and participate as instructors there. So we had instructors from the New York Ballet Company that came. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, just amazing backgrounds that would come and teach classes. That was particularly for the summer program, which was basically K through 6th grade. So 5 to 12 years of age. Mm-hmm. So, and we also, one of my really big motivations during that time was she was the first person in the state of New Mexico to integrate special needs children with regular children. And that was really great because we had this one child, Matthew, and when he first came to us at the Garcia Street Club there, he was just kind of slumped over in a wheelchair. And they said that they didn't give him a very long life to live. But what we would do is we would put his wheelchair in the circle. The kids sat on the floor. It was a really big room, so the kids all sat on the floor. And mm-hmm. he started to, one day he started to just kind of lift his head up a little bit. We kind of put a thing to kind of tie him in so he'd be more upright. And he started going back and forth to the children would sing, and he loved it. And he would keep rhythm with his body way. And then we also did what's called the Domen Delicato method, which takes a child back to the very early stages of creeping and crawling. And his mom was a saint. I mean that in the truest sense of the words. His mom would literally on her knees. She was raised and had the Mexican tradition. And she would, early morning, she would get up and on her knees, she would go from her house to the Santuario, the Guadalupe Santuario on her knees to pray for Matthew.
Wow. Huh.
And I get a little emotional.
Yeah.
But he, so between the prayers and active community that would come in, because they needed 5 people to cross pattern him, because we would do it on a big table that we had, moving his head, his arms and legs at the same time, getting that creeping, crawling motion, which is to activate the brain, many brain cells that we don't use often every day in our lives. So I saw such tremendous progress with him. He was eventually able to be admitted into the public school system, and he, they went on further. So he went, long story short, as a young, I guess he must have been about a teenager, where he was able to begin to walk. So,
Wow.
So that was a huge miracle that came about through a lot of love, came about through community effort, came about through belief and faith. And so,
So you saw all of that going on. He was one of your classmates?
He was, well, I was older. By that time, I was already in high school.
So I see. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of jumped. So my mom adopted me, and I went, of course, to preschool and kindergarten there with her. And during the summer program, she would have me help with some of the classes like arts and crafts and painting.
I see.
Like that. Working directly with the children, tutoring, sitting down, listening to them read, reading them stories, those kind of things. So it really began at a young age, that whole process.
Mm-hmm. And obviously you had a lot of love and just compassion and grace and everything all around you. Were you pretty spiritual at that time as well? Were you doing spiritual practices, or was she a Christian, or was she?
Yeah, you have such a great way of just knowing how to ask the right question. But yeah, so the elderly lady that I had been living with, her name was Genoveva. And I remember, I don't have a lot of memories, but I remember going to the Loreto Chapel here in Santa Fe, which is known for the miraculous staircase that is believed that St. Joseph had actually been the carpenter that built it, because there's no visible means of support on that spiral staircase. Anyways, I remember going to church with her, and she would sit in the church and say her rosary. And I would think of going the spiral staircases as like going up to heaven. This is just all from a very young child's point of view, So, and then my mom actually, I think her family of origin was Presbyterian, but as an adult, she chose to become Catholic. And she was a practicing Catholic in terms of, when we were growing up, send us to Catholic schools. And also she would go to Mass on Sundays. But I think what was most impressive of her way in teaching was that she would often say, well, she had a twin brother, which, I totally respect. His way of worshiping was to get up every morning, go to Mass and do his prayers. And in that way, which prayers are so a really big part of my life, but in a different kind of a way. It's evolved for me that, like my mom would often say, she'd say, well, my prayer is through my actions and what I do for the children in the community.
I love that. It's beautiful.
I adapted same ethic and spirituality of trying to make each day and the choices that I make be a prayer.
Mm. I love that. And that's actually biblical because it says, and oh my gosh, I'm not a biblical scholar, so I don't remember exactly where it says this, but it says something about let your life be the prayer itself, or pray until you become prayer itself, or something like that. So that's really, really cool. Yeah. So you weave that in through everything. I love that. And when did you start the more of the Native American style?
Well, what happened, so I did go, so I went to high school, and I actually went to Santa Fe Prep of mine from sophomore to senior year. And I did go on to college to major in elementary special education and got my master's in counseling. And when I was taking my master's program here in Santa Fe, Charles King, who at the time was the director of student services at the Institute of American Indian Arts, approached me one day after class, and he said, I really like what you say in your participation in class, he said, and we are going to be having a position open at the Institute of American Indian Arts. And of course, I was very excited. I was like, well, I haven't quite even finished my master's program, and there's an interest possibly in being able to work there. And he said, of course, you'd have to come in and go through the interview process. And so I did all of that. I was hired at the Institute of American Indian Arts. And, I really had not had much opportunity to learn or explore my Native American roots and heritage. And so this really presented me with an amazingly beautiful, wonderful opportunity. I was hired as a counselor there, and a lot of the traditions came from different tribes, because there were tribes that came from all over the country to study at the Institute of American Indian Arts. And so my mentor there and the psychologist that I worked with was Dr. J. Navarro, who was a medicine man. And so he would include me in some of the ceremonial ways, and felt that it was a way that we used as well for counseling and guidance and, reaching out to the student population. We integrated, for instance, sweat lodges and prayer circles in that way. Yeah.
So the Institute of American Indian Arts, and were you involved in the art at that time? Because I know you're an artist, and I know you're a musician. So,
well,
were you just in counseling?
Well, I think what was I always enjoyed painting, and dance has always been, ever since I was young, that's been just a part of who I am. Mm-hmm. When I got to the Institute of American Indian Arts, I had actually taken classical music lessons for about 10 years. And I studied the recorder, the soprano, alto, and tenor recorders, and also studied piano for about 5 years during that time. So I had that basic foundation. And when I started working at the Institute of American Indian Arts, there was an instructor there who taught Native American flute. And I, was very interested, and I didn't, because I was actually working and didn't have the opportunity. I sat in a couple of his classes and really attracted to, and so picked up playing Native American flute and added that to my repertoire.
Oh, yeah, and I love that, and just for the audience, we were out on one of our hikes up to the waterfalls, and you were playing your flute just as a blessing. That was so cool. Yeah. So did you learn about honoring nature and working with creation and everything through that time?
Yeah. I mean, I always, even as a kid, I loved being outside, early morning to evening, and through high school and college, I enjoyed, as you know, hiking and being along the waters. And so, so I think, what was the question?
Well, I'm just, having a conversation as far as, what you do now and what I saw you. I was just trying to come back to the roots of where all of that came from and how you've blended the Native American into your, Christian or Catholic roots, and, honoring nature, because, we're created to be the restorer of creation, and we take dominion by loving it and working with nature instead of against it and making it work for us. And I love your heart through all of that. And so I'm just wanting to get the story of how all of that came to be.
Yeah, okay. So the integration of nature and spirituality for me has come about through, actually a lot of it has come about through my participation as an Aztec dancer. I dance with the group Donancin de la Nalco here in Santa Fe. And again, that came about through my own daughter, who was attending the Boys and Girls Club here. And she said, "Oh, Mom, there's this dance group at the Boys and Girls Club. It'd be great if you'd come," and she seemed really interested in it. So I did. I showed up and I met my comadre Concha there, and later Patricia. And I've been in that circle for almost 30 years now. And,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been such a beautiful, powerful blessing, because it's definitely a continuation of the spiritual path that when it's kinetic prayer is how we describe it, the best way to describe our Aztec dance group.
Oh, I love that. Kinetic prayer. Tell me more about that. That's cool.
Well, kinetic prayer, so at the very beginning of our dance, we offer, I guess what you would call like our mark to Creator, to the world around us, to Spirit, in that we do that through our steps and our movements. And a lot of the movements are also nature-based. So we have dances for Mother Earth, dance for Klalot, for the rain. We have the dance of the deer. So it's all really very nature connected to, which, that symbolizes, like, well, the deer symbolizes love and compassion and all of those things. And so we slowly learn those dances, and we learn the importance of what we call the almas, like the chachayotes that we wear, the trajes and the feathers, all have a connection from earth through Spirit to Creator, to God. And so that's all really important. And we offer the fire and the water and the herbs, there on the earth, since it all comes from the earth in that way.
Sure.
And a large part of those teachings are having gratitude and belief, that when you really believe strongly and have faith, that miracles do manifest. And so we are called upon to do blessings out in the community, and to offer the fires and the waters and all of those things. And, the groups that we in the community vary. And different people have different types of spiritual beliefs, of course, as we know. Some are Christian based, some are people are more from the Buddhist tradition, some have a sense of spirituality but may not be specifically connected to. But I think the important part is unifying everybody through the how I see it for myself is being of service. And being of service in whatever way I'm called upon to do that, which varies. And it is integrated into my business as well, as you were asking about that a little earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. So it's sometimes difficult to get people of different spiritual beliefs and stuff to come together, because there's such a religious spirit that is a legalistic kind of thing that just blocks being able to actually just love each other and just, honor you as, a daughter of God, whatever. So that's really beautiful that you can do that, and that you found the common thread is that acts of service, because that's love, right? If you're serving others, unless you're doing it for other motivations, but I'm assuming, let's just assume that the motivations are love, right? That you want to serve each other. So that's really beautiful that you can come together with find the common thing that you can both agree on, rather than disagreeing about theology and all of that kind of stuff in your work. And I think that that's an important piece of being able to blend your spirituality into your business, is to not try to force your beliefs on other people, but rather just show them who you're created to be, because we're all created in the image of our creator, Father God, right? And regardless of what they believe, I can still be who he created me to be to them, right? So I love that you do that in such a beautiful way, So this last little bit of this first segment, I want to just start telling people a little bit more about your business. And then in segment 2, let's go more into your business and what you're working on right now. Okay, so just give us a sneak peek, like a cliffhanger overview of what's going on to wrap up this session.
Well, let's see. So as far as my business goes, it's been an interesting journey. First of all, I'll say that. And I believe that in order to have worked outside of the traditional 8 to 5, 7-day week type of structure, it has taken a lot of faith and belief and ups and downs with the economics of it, as well as the social and spiritual, all of that holistic type way of choosing to be a business person in that way. So what I've done is I've set myself up basically as an independent contractor, which has been a really wonderful experience, because it has allowed me to work in a lot of different places and areas and venues, and bringing in music and stories and dance and working, like I said, in a lot of different venues like schools and museums and galleries and workshops, conventions, and it's been a really wonderful experience. But I have to say, there were times where, especially being at one time in my life, a single parent, and I'm laughing because I have a friend who also, we supported each other because we kind of chose a different way of going about our careers. And we used to call it the Santa Fe Shuffle. So, one day we'd show up to tutor, and the next day we'd show up to do a conference, a workshop I'm trying to think of something off the moment, but stress reduction workshop or something like that. So yeah, I just kind of had to be able to change hats, so to speak, to be able to, but it all really came under one umbrella as far as my business model, and integrated that.
Mm-hmm. And so what would you name that umbrella that kind of just covers everything?
I guess, arts and education would be a good way to name that. Yeah, arts and education.
Yeah.
Or education in the arts. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess really it would be arts and nature in education.
Yeah, that is so good. And that you really just exemplify that, even in talking to you, sitting over dinner before we even went on a hike. You're all about, that the nature and just being artful and being mindful of, what's going on and going with the flow, like you said, and all of that. Yeah. Okay. So how can people get a hold of you? And are you working only in the Santa Fe area, or do you travel now, or?
Oh, no. Yeah. Through the years, I've traveled different opportunities that have arisen. So yeah, definitely open to continuing to do that now that the world's opening up again, of course, which is really great. And it's nice to be able to be back in community in different places. And so one of the ways that I can be reached is through my email address. That's HydaMaria@gmail.com, and it's spelled H as in hat, Y as in yes, D as in dad, A as in apple, M as in Mary, A as in apple, R as in rabbit, I as in Indian, and A as in apple. So that's Hyda Maria.
You're such an educator. We love that. For the audience, I will have her email address in the show notes below, so all will be well. And you also have a YouTube channel, Hyda Maria, on YouTube. Just go look and search for Hyda Maria, and Hyda, like she said, Hyda. So let's just wrap this segment up, and then when we come back in segment 2, right away for us and next week for our viewers, we'll talk about what you're doing now and some of the books that you're writing, or you have written, or you want to write, or all of those kinds of things. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Is it okay if I step away for a minute to just go grab the cover of those books so I can show
Oh,
them?
of course. Yeah, let's do that in segment 2. So for right now, you guys, if you have loved this interview with Hyda Maria, do share it out with your friends. We appreciate you liking and subscribing and following and sharing wherever you're seeing this video or listening to this podcast. And until next time, stay spirit-centered. Peace out.
Hey there, SCB peeps. I want to give a huge shout out and deep appreciation and thanks to Candace Benton. She has become a super sponsor for the Spirit Centered Business Show. So I would appreciate you helping me in sending blessings and abundance back to her. Thank you so much, Candace, and you are well loved.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Centered Business with Bralynn Newby. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. The next stage of doing business by being spirit-centered is coming together in collaboration, working with spiritual principles and knowing our destiny. Join our tribe at spiritcenteredbusiness.com, and we'll catch you on the next broadcast. Peace out.